From chapter 12, and I'm going to be reading verses 1 to 13. And this is how it reads. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. In your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. And have you completely forgotten this word of encouragement that addresses you as a father addresses his son? It says, "My son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you, because the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastens everyone he accepts as his son. Endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as his children. For what children are not disciplined by their father? If you are not disciplined, and everyone undergoes discipline, then you're not legitimate, not true sons and daughters at all. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. how much more should we submit to the Father of spirits and live? They disciplined us for a little while as they thought best, but God disciplines for our good, in order that we may share in his holiness. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Therefore, strengthen your feeble arms and weak knees. Make level paths for your feet, so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. Amen. I want us really this morning to draw our attention to the first two verses here. We're told in those two verses three things. Number one is, in this thing called life, this Christian life, this journey of following Jesus, we're commanded to throw off things that hinder. So the first word we'll look at is throw off. And then we're called to run with perseverance. So our second word is run. So throw off and run. And the third word I want us to look at is fix. We run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus. So our Christian lives are lived out in this world, this big, wide world, which is full of diversity, but it's also full of structures that sometimes want to dehumanize people or scapegoat people. And I think sometimes attitudes like that can wear us down a little bit. If you think about a car, I'm not very good at looking after cars, but I am told that, if you wash them regularly and you apply certain things to the finish of a car, they won't depreciate. The metal won't get corrupted or rusty and stuff like that. But if you don't do that, your car, the bodywork can become corrupted over time. And there is a challenge, I think, in the life of being a follower of Jesus to resist, actively resist, or actively throw off things that would corrupt our hearts. We're called into this idea of running a race. Now, I use the example of boxing because I quite like boxing. I just don't like all the build-up anymore, but I like to watch a good boxing match. But one of the things that happens with boxers is they have to do the weigh-in before they get in the ring, don't they? Usually a couple of days before they do the weigh-in. None of them have got as good a bodies as me, so, you'd be impressed but they have to weigh in, and if they're overweight for their category, they get fined. So they put themselves hard at work in order to shed or throw off the excess weight so that they can compete. So they don't get disqualified before they even get in the ring. Now we're called a bit like that to shed things, to throw things off. The only way that we can throw things off that would hinder us in our walk with Jesus is to be a community that reflects well on the foundation itself, which is Jesus. It's one of the reasons why I'm enjoying walking through Luke, as difficult as it can be, because Christians are called that because we are centered around Jesus Christ. He's our foundation. So we have to examine ourselves and throw off the things that would entangle us, the things that might disqualify us before we even get in the race. Now, the second word is run. And the writer here uses this idea that we run with perseverance the race marked out for us. We run the race, and it's marked out for us. Now, you will know from watching running, if any of you watch athletics, that if a runner strays into somebody else's lane, they're disqualified. They are to run in their lane. They have to be disciplined and focused to keep in their lane. And I often think for us, we have to be disciplined to acknowledge, in some senses, the lane that God has given us to run in. We're all different. We've all got different skill sets. We've all got different grace giftings from God. And those tend to be a signifier of the lane in which we are to run our race. And the lane isn't so restrictive that it kind of doesn't include what your passions might be in life, what your passion might be when you're studying, or what your passion might be in a career. All of those things kind of a part of our identity and DNA, and we are to, as we said before, sometimes focus on ourselves. Not in a selfish way, but there's only things that I can do, and nobody in here can do those things, but there's things that you can do that I can't do. But if I want to come into your lane because I want to do what you can do, I'm almost saying to God, I don't really like what you've put within me and how you've created me. We are to run in our lanes together. We're to do it with perseverance. I wonder whether, when I worked at university, one of the biggest issues that we felt confronted students was this idea of resilience. The fact that students come, when I worked at Manchester University, because it's one of the Russell Group universities, tends to get clever students who have sat their A-levels, passed it with flying colours, and then suddenly they get put in an environment with all the other people who've passed with flying colours. And some of them are really good at critical thinking, which is what happens at a UK institution. You don't sit in a university and just write in your exam everything the lecturer's told you. You're supposed to question and this, that, and the other, whereas the A-level system possibly doesn't encourage that as much. So a lot of students who were the top of the pack when they were doing their A-levels feel like at the bottom rung of the ladder all of a sudden. And lots of students suffered isolation and difficulties and would drop out because resilience was missing. And I think resilience is something that needs to be reclaimed, and it needs to be the ground of the gospel. We don't just run a race, an easy race. We're called to persevere in the running of that race too. If we fall down, we get back up again. The falls that we encounter don't define us. They're part of the journey, and we learn from them. And with our eyes fixed in the right place, we are able to get up and continue running the journey. It is a tragedy that we can have a theology that makes people feel like they make one mistake and they've completely lost out on all of their salvation. It's just crazy, isn't it? It's legalistic, that kind of stuff. Because we're all going to fall. We're all going to fall. We're all going to miss the mark. We're going to continually miss whatever marks we put out, because that's the nature of life. But we practice together so that we might get closer to what it is to be like Jesus. So we run with perseverance. And lastly, we fix our eyes on Jesus. Now, I know when I had the children and young people running around, and there were some spillages because I can see water on here. But one of the things, as well as holding something firmly, as well as kind of having a strategy with your walk, your eyes are so important. Where we fix our eye gaze is really important. And we are called to fix our eyes on Jesus, who is the pioneer and perfecter of faith. Isn't that wonderful? Jesus isn't just a kind of example. He's the pioneer, which means he's gone first. He's done the journey completely first. Now, in Greek Olympics of the time, the pioneer would be the captain of the team who would cross the line first. And when the pioneer had crossed the line for the team, the pioneer would then turn back to the team and would call the team in with encouragement. And Jesus, as we fix our eyes on him, Jesus is calling us forward with encouragement and with praise. Jesus isn't stood there with a stick to swat us because we got our footing wrong. He's there to say, come on, get up, you can do this. But our eyes need to be fixed and focused on Jesus Christ, the one who has done it for us and the one who perfects that within us. So this morning, as a people of God gathered together in the name of Christ, let's think together about what things we need to throw off, what narratives in this world we need to resist that could easily corrupt us from even starting the race in the first place. And let's say no to those things. And let's be clear that our purpose is running a race that is marked from start to finish by the faithfulness of Christ, who is our pioneer and perfecter. Let us fix our eyes together on the Christ who has given himself for us. And let us be in tune with his words of encouragement as he calls us forward and calls us on to a deeper life, a more meaningful life, and a life which narrative is full of hope and resists despair. Today, may God help me throw off what hinders. May God help me deal with the sin that entangles me and disqualifies me. And may I get up and run with perseverance the race and fix my eyes once again on Jesus. And may we together do the same. Amen.
Lord of all, let every throne before